The Albermarle was built in 1864 on the edge of a cornfield, far upriver from the Union Army that already occupied the river port town of Plymouth. Several of the vessel's inexperienced yet inventive builders were later laid to rest in the graveyard of Scotland Neck's Old Trinity Church, very near the ship's construction site. So the commemoration began there.
First time I came to Old Trinity, I realized that I was walking through the pages of North Carolina history.
The group visited the resting places of builders Gilbert Elliott and Peter Evans Smith, who owned the land on which the ironclad was built.
Peter Evans Smith's stone right here, and he was, of course, very instrumental in getting the Albermarle built.
A pontoon boatload of the builder's descendants and other history buffs then set out to meet the Albermarle replica on the waters of the Roanoke, as it prepared to fire a cannon salute at the spot where the original was built.
There's a field right there, and then there's a field right you can see through the woods over there, and it was built right in here.
A private club just downriver from the ship's birthplace was named years ago after what was sometimes called the Ram Albermarle, because it was designed to ram into wooden ships. So there was special significance in the replica's first visit this far upriver, especially to Sam Hamph, a club member and descendant of one of the builders.
You've got a replica of the boat in there on the mantelpiece. You've got pictures up on the walls. You've got the original plans.
Yeah, It's just, that's why when we formed the club, we were thinking of what are you gonna call the club, and then it was one of these things that just stood out in our mind around the Albermarle Club, because this is where it was built.
Construction of the Albermarle had to be kept beyond the reach of Union soldiers who already controlled much of eastern North Carolina, and putting together such a vessel in a spot with no shipbuilding equipment presented incredible difficulties. There was relentless time pressure, so builder Peter Evans Smith ended up inventing the first twist metal drill so as to reduce the time of cutting bolt holes in the iron armor plates from 20 minutes to 4 minutes. Most of the iron plates were attached upriver in Halifax. All in all, the mere completion of the ironclad was as amazing as its accomplishments. Preston Nuttall, author of the book Duel on the Roanoke, was aboard to help celebrate the commemorative voyage of the replica.
Of course, the Virginia came first by a few months, well, by more than that, a year or so. Its exports took place in Hampton Roads before a much larger audience, and therefore got a lot of the publicity. And it should have. It was first, that it was a larger ship. But the significance of the Albermarle was really the conditions under which it was built, which you're seeing here. Pretty primitive. There was nothing there. It was built in a cornfield. It was built under the direction of a 19-year-old boy. Most of his workers had never worked on so much as a rowboat before. And yet these mainly farmers and clerks and whatever built what became, in terms of enemy ships sunk or damaged, exceeded the Virginia. Well, that threw a scare into the Union Navy like you wouldn't believe. They visualized themselves losing all of eastern North Carolina just because of this one ship.
That's because the Albermarle defeated 2 Federal warships in its first battle, sinking one, and helped the Confederate Army recapture Plymouth. Then it took on and defeated 7 Federal vessels in a second battle in the Albemarle Sound. Plymouth resident and history buff Tom Harrison personally had the Albemarle replica built in 2002 and was a leader in organizing the replica's odyssey.
We created what is a 3/8 scale replica of the Albemarle. This one is 63 feet long. The real one was 158 feet long. And we used all salt-treated material, and we wanted to come up with something that was low or no maintenance. To give the appearance of the 7-inch iron plates, the original iron plates were 2 inches thick and 7 inches wide. We used salt-treated 1x4, and we beveled the edges so you could see the individual plates. And then we came back with a 3/4 inch head furniture nail to apply what looks like the bolts that hold on the framework.
During a stop at Hamilton, Albemarle crew reenactor Nevis Leary stood on deck and recounted a key moment of the Battle of Plymouth. The Albemarle had rammed so deeply into the Union ship Southfield that she became stuck and almost sank along with the Federal vessel.
And as the Southfield sank, it pulled the Albemarle down so deep the water ran into the gun ports. But unfortunately for the Albemarle crew, when the Southfield hit the bottom, it rolled and the Albemarle popped up. By that time, the Miami had come up and was so close that they could literally touch one another. And Flusser was the captain of the Miami, and he was possessed with the idea of sinking the Albemarle.
A web of gun emplacements known as Fort Branch is sunk into the top of this bluff downriver from Hamilton. The fort successfully kept Federal craft from ever getting upriver to reach the key railroad head at Weldon, which helped carry supplies to Lee's army in Virginia. On this day of observance, Confederate reenactors at the fort and the Albemarle replica below exchanged gun salutes. The Albemarle presented such a threat to continued Union control of eastern North Carolina that the Federal Navy conceived a desperate raid to blow up the Confederate ironclad. A small launch crept by rebel defenses in the dark of night, carrying a torpedo on the end of a long spar designed to reach the ironclad's unarmored wooden underside, and it sent the Albemarle to the river bottom in November 1864, just 8 months after it was completed. The Union quickly retook Plymouth, and a few months later the Civil War ended. The Albemarle's history lives on, as does the replica of the vessel, right there in Plymouth, where there was so much victory and also ultimate defeat.